Hi everyone, hope you're doing well. With West Ham heavily linked to Jonathan David as well as Ismaël Koné of Watford, I decided to ask the Canadian with the most appearances ever for the Hammers, Craig Forrest, for his thoughts on each player. So he's a little bit more clued up than I. Craig, thank you for joining me. How are you?
I'm doing really well, thank you. Are you enjoying all this football? There's all sorts going on with Copa America and obviously the Euro. England's performances haven't been great so far, but hopefully we'll see the best.
Well, as a Scotsman, I'm hoping not, actually. I'm all right with their performances so far. Just to interrupt for 1 minute, and don't worry, it's not an advert, it's just a heads up. I recorded this with Craig a couple of days ago, and at the time, Ismaël Koné was linked to Marseille. However, since then, he's moved quite fast, and he's expected to become a Marseille player. Still not even announced yet at the time of recording this, so even this bit might be out of date. So please just bear that in mind later on. Craig's opinion on the player is still relevant, just he's now possibly a Marseille player and won't be joining West Ham this window. Let's start with Jonathan David, because I feel that rumour's got a little bit more substance to it, and I believe that rumour more than perhaps the Ismaël Koné one. Lots of talk that ourselves and Chelsea are the ones that are leading the race for him, obviously expected to leave Lille this summer. What type of striker is Jonathan David? For somebody that's never seen him play, how would you describe him?
Well, first of all, he's an excellent professional. He'd be a manager's dream. He's very coachable. He works incredibly hard. Does his defensive duties incredibly well. He can play as a lone striker if he has to. He can also play behind a striker. He can play in a more forward midfield position too. So he's quite versatile. He's proven goal scorer. He did it at Ghent. He did it at Lille in his first year, won Ligue 1 consistently. And when he goes through bad periods, he doesn't drop his head. He just works even harder and tries to do something in the game that will do something for the team. So if he's not playing his very best or getting opportunities, he will do that. He can press really well. He's, like I said, very coachable and an absolute gem of a guy.
Obviously, with him linked to West Ham, would he suit the Premier League?
Well, this is a question. We've seen a lot of players move from continental Europe into the Premier League and struggled. We look at Scamacca, what happened with him or didn't happen with him at West Ham. And he's back in playing with the Italian national team, but never settled in the Premier League. I think that he would still contribute a fair amount of goals. You look at Antonio and what he's doing. I mean, at his age, obviously, there's some comparisons to him as far as finishing goes. I think he's a bit of a better finisher than Antonio. But it is a big question. Can he do it in the Premier League? I would love to see him go to West Ham and really give it a go and see what he could actually achieve in the Premier League, because obviously the standards different and there's different pressures and it's immense at times, but I think he can handle it.
In terms of, you said about how he's coachable, what is his main strengths as a striker? If you had to pick out 2 or 3 of his best abilities or characteristics?
Well, it's finishing and playing in tight spaces, and which would certainly suit him, and as well as playing in counter-attacking football, which also could be the case with West Ham at times, playing away from home. He doesn't shy away from those moments. So, yeah, his interchanging of positions, playing off the shoulder of defenders has been excellent. He's learned an awful lot in Ligue 1, and at 24 years of age, I think he can continue to learn as well. International duty, he's it's a different game, international football, but he's managed to really do quite well internationally with Canada and a strong team. Certainly in a forward top third, they are a fine team. Defensively, Canada seems to struggle, gives up too many opportunities, but he can do that work defensively when you're under pressure too, and sit back and basically be the first man to press.
£25 million price tag is being touted around at the minute for him. Would you think that's a fair fee?
You know, in the modern day, yeah, you know, the money we're talking about is incredible. But he's in his last year of his contract, and Lille will want something for him. Is what I expect. They're in that position as a club, and I would think 25-30 million euros around that price would probably get him. And I think at that price, you have a player that can contribute for sure. I think it's not bad.
Now we spoke about, is Jonathan David right for West Ham? But do you think West Ham would be right for Jonathan David? Obviously, we've got this unknown quantity with Lopetegui beginning as manager, so we've not got any real evidence at West Ham yet as to what we're going to play like. So that sort of vision isn't really there. But do you think we're the right level of club for him, or do you think he could be looking at going to someone with perhaps greater ambitions, such as Chelsea?
Well, yeah, I mean, money obviously is a big factor, and that plays a part. I think West Ham, he's going to get games. He's going to get the opportunities. At Chelsea, who knows what's going on there? They buy and spend, hundreds of millions of pounds on players. I think it would suit him to come to West Ham more than it would do Chelsea, to be honest with you, under the circumstances.
Why is he leaving Lille? I don't know enough, but I'd imagine the coverage of him would be greater in Canada, perhaps, given that he's quite a high-profile player. Is it just a player ambition that he wants to go on and play on a bigger level or greater competition? Why is he departing Lille?
Well, I think it's a case of, when he made the move to Lille, I actually thought it was a good move for him, moving from Belgium to Lille and playing in Ligue 1. Work your way up that system. I mean, like I said, they won Ligue 1, his first attempt at it in the French league. And he's applied his trade. He got games. I was worried that he might go to a bigger club at that time and not be able to learn his game and get the games that he needs to progress. And it was perfect move for him. They're a selling club. They promised him that in years down the road, if you continue to do well, we will look to give you that opportunity to go elsewhere. So yes, he's ambitious. And like I said before, he's a very, very good pro. And I think with Lille in the last year of his contract, they're going to want to pick up something for him as opposed to let it go too late and into next year where he can walk away on a free in a year's time.
Right, and let's switch from the striker to the centre midfielder one. Then this is someone that I know even less about, Ismaël Koné. We got linked to him last week, but it was by some reliable people that said that West Ham are interested in Ismaël Koné. Obviously, he just went to Watford just 18 months ago. Was he a big standout in the Canadian League prior to his move to Vicarage Road?
Well, yes and no. I mean, his climb was quite quick. His rise was quickly recognized, and they made the move over to Watford. There's been some changes in managers there. I think he's had 4 managers already. It's been tough for him. The exposure of international football is definitely there for him, which is good for players. I see that a lot of clubs in the past have taken chances on international play, and they could play 3 really good games. I mean, we did that with Javier Marquez at West Ham back after the '98 World Cup. Chilean, great defender, but you have to be careful what you do. He didn't settle in London at all. And Harry had some problems with him. And in the end, he ended up leaving. So you have to be careful with that. But with Kone, with his ability to already make that move to Watford, and his game has improved immensely. I watched him internationally, and I can't believe how quickly he's grown, and in a position where he can get an attack at back lines. He's very, very good in midfield. He's on a swivel. He can play the ball short. He can play the ball long. His passing range is pretty good and accurate. And he's just got better and better. So whether he can make that move to the Premier League or not, I am not sure at this moment about Kone. But certainly in a year or two, watching his rise, if he keeps continuing to improve, I think that he would, and depending on the price tag, obviously, he'd be worth taking a punt on.
What makes you a little bit reluctant in regards to him being ready to step up now? Is it just ability, or is it physique, or what's putting you off from him being ready?
Just the consistency of his game. He's got to be able to do it week in, week out, and under those pressures. Now, Watford and in the Championship, they have a ton of games. He's got used to that. I know there was some disappointment when some of the managers have departed, and him worrying about that. But he doesn't have to worry about that. You have to basically go out there and look after your own game, regardless of who the manager is. And if you don't like the way they play, well, if you're playing every week, you better thank your lucky stars, because your next manager might not like you so much. So all in all, it's all happened very, very quickly for Kone. But what I've seen so far, especially at the international level, he has settled really in, and he's growing as a player every single week.
What fee would you think if West Ham were to make a move for him now, and it feels like a bit of a gamble going by what you say, what would you think is a fair fee to reflect Kone's current ability and lack of consistency?
Oh, that's a very good question. Really good question. 20,
Well,
25.
10 million, 20, that much, 20, 25 million.
Well, I mean, if they're going to, if Watford are going to sell him, I think that they'll be looking for that amount of money. I would think. I could be wrong. Maybe it's 10. If he's coming for 10, he'd be definitely worth a go at 10 million.
So at the minute, not so sure, but one for future, you definitely think he'll be good enough for the Premier League if he maintains his rise.
Yes.
Right then, Copa America. Are you enjoying it?
I am enjoying it. I haven't watched so much Copa America before. I mean, when football is on and Euros and whatnot, but it's been exciting. It's been great to see some CONCACAF teams there, Canada being one of them, who are performing pretty well. Argentina game, they actually played quite well. They should have scored at least a couple goals. Probably should have conceded 4-2, but you would expect to give up chances against Messi and Argentina. But I was really impressed and proud of how they presented themselves against Argentina. And then Peru was a completely different animal, where they were quite physical. The manager for Peru was talking beforehand about the physicalities of Canada, which was saying that they're almost violent, and if they want to get into a fist fight, well, we'll do that as well. Well, their players really wanted to get into a fight. There was a headbutt on Alistair Johnson, a Celtic player, should have been red carded. Went to VAR, didn't send him off. But if you see the headbutt, I mean, it's clearly a red card, and I don't know what world we live in when that's not a red card. They eventually got one later on a crunching tackle, which used to be legal back in the day when you get the ball, but he was definitely going in to get the ball and crunch the player, and there was a red card issued then. Goalkeeper Max Crepo out of Portland played for Los Angeles Football Club before that, won an MLS title. He's been incredible in goal over the last few games, and a lot of competition for that spot too. Defensively, Canada need to make sure we shore up things. And Jesse Marsh, the American new coach for Canada, bit of a surprise, I think, him getting the job. But overall, he's really impressed, and he certainly has done that for me as well. So it puts them in a position where they play Chile. And if they can get a result against Chile, a draw will probably get them to the quarterfinals. And a win, I mean, they could potentially even play Venezuela in the next round. So that would be a really good opportunity for them. And it's exciting. But Argentina is still the team to beat. But man, culturally, you know, the game is so big, but culturally it's just played differently in South America. And it turns into a bar fight on a regular occurrence. And I think Canada know that, and they're willing to get mixed up with it, but you got to make sure you're disciplined because you just know these referees are consistently inconsistent.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to. I feel like I'm missing out. I'm gonna have to tune in. I've just been keeping up with the highlights. Obviously, Michael Antonio scored Jamaica's first ever goal at Copa America, and we were going to have an interest with Edson Alvarez in Mexico, but obviously got his hamstring injury, which has ruled him out. But we've still got Antonio. Although Jamaica got beat, he's made history for his country this week as well. So at least we've got some West Ham representation over there. And just quickly, Ryan Gold, are you fancying him for your World Cup squad in 2026? We've got a running joke here. I say a joke, myself and another guy, Hammershot, love Ryan Gold, and we mentioned about a month ago, and a couple of people, Canadian subscribers, I said, "Oh, hands off. That's our Canadian Messi, and we need him for the World Cup." So, you're a fan?
Well, hey, he would suit the Canadian team for sure. We would love to have him in the Canadian national team, but he's Scottish through and through, like he is, and as a player, he works really, really hard, and I am surprised he hasn't really had a look in, although the competition for his position is pretty fierce with a Scottish team. But he is somebody that is still looking to play for Scotland. Yeah, he's been tapped up by Canada, of course, but at this present moment, like I said, the guy bleeds blue. He is a Scottish lad, and good for him. And I hope he does play for him. I hope he gets a look in it. And as things are in the moment, you never know if he'll get that chance, but he's still waiting for that from Scotland.
So do I, Craig. So do I. But listen, thank you very much for joining me. I'm a fan of him. Steve Clark, just for whatever reason, isn't. I thought he was unaware of, sort of just because he was playing over there, he was just not keeping his eyes, but then we called at someone from the MLS. So it doesn't really go hand in hand with that sort of theory I had. That's been blown out. So there's almost no more reasons now as to why you shouldn't call it Ryan Gold. But listen, so Jonathan David, a big yes, and Ismaël Koné, if at the right price. Would that be a fair summary of your views on the players to West Ham?
Yeah, it would be. It would be. I mean, if they're looking to build and grow and not have a player that necessarily has to go into the first team right away, or expectations are too high, Kone would be a very good player to pick up.
Well, Craig, thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for joining me. You guys at home have enjoyed the video. Please do drop a like on the video by clicking thumbs up. Subscribe to Hammers Chat. And Craig, thank you very much.
My pleasure. Always great to talk about West Ham.